Hey everyone, day 24. Merry Christmas Eve. And I hope we are getting all of our traditions out and enjoying this time. Okay, today I am featuring Scrappy Tails again, and I am going to be working with the 5x7 spinner snow globe. I am also going to be working with their Christmas assorted leaves. I'm going to also have the wreath spinner that goes on the inside. So these are all the pieces that I die cut. I cut out 6 of the frames for the spinner, for the frame of it. I've cut multiples out of 2 shades of green from the Christmas assorted leaves, and mainly the pines. I also did that with the wreath, as you can see. And then I also used one of the branches from the same assorted leaves, and I did that in a craft, a light craft. I cut out some bows from red glitter paper from the wreath spinner. And I'm using both gray and brown. So I'm kind of creating my own two-tone type of cardstock. So the gray is going to be on the outer parts, and the brown is going to be on the inside. Now, the cardstock that I am using is the Concord and Ninth cardstock. So to me, I forget what the weight is of it, but I mean, it's not a heavy weight. I like using a lighter weight cardstock with these dies and then doubling up on them. To me, that gives a better strength because of the glue in between the layers as well. Just my personal preference. So for each side, it's going to have 2 of the brown cardstocks, and then it's also going to have the gray on top. So when you're looking at this, now this is not going to spin. I'm not creating the spinner, but it's going to look like I am. But it's going to float. I love it when those spinners just float in the center of this. So this is definitely going to be a home decor piece that you could make somebody so that they can put up in their house every year. I took the accordion, and I also cut that from brown cardstock as well, because you're going to see that. When you look inside, you're going to see the browns. Once I had all of those layered and folded and ready to go, I set those aside because now we're going to do some ink blending. So I took the wreath, and the wreath, the second piece, you can actually lift up these little sections. So to add dimension, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just taking my thumbnail, going right in underneath that, and adding some dimension to the wreath. Now, they don't stay perfectly up, but that's okay. At least I've got those bent. Now, here's the beauty. Now, these 2 pieces are designed to go on top of each other, of course. So that's why I also did the 2 different colors, and I'm coming in with some Rustic Wilderness to add just even more texture and dimension on them. They're set to match, to layer. You don't have to layer them perfectly. I actually debated on, okay, do I want to layer these perfectly together or not? So when it comes to each side, because you need 2, you need one for the front and one for the back. When I put them together, I'm not matching them up perfectly because I like that. It adds dimension going around and the feel of these branches coming out of the wreath. I'm also using the Rustic Wilderness to go over all of these pine needles. Again, adding some depth, adding some shading to each of these die cuts. I will be coming in. I start out with the vintage photo, but I actually am going to change this to ground espresso because I wanted it to be a little bit darker. This is a very rustic, woodland type piece. One of the things that I saw when it came to the 5x7 globe are things climbing, things moving up the side, and that's what we are creating. Now also with her wreath spinner die set come these adorable poinsettia cutouts. So we are die cutting tons of those, and I'm layering them. I cut them out of 2 shades of red. Of course, a dark maroon and a lighter red. I went into my scraps for those, which is great, just to use up those colors. And then once they were layered, I'm coming in with some aged mahogany just on the edges of those. When it comes to constructing all of this, I like to use double-sided adhesive, but I also will add glue to it once in a while, depending upon what area that is. It just adds another safeguard for me to make sure that this is going to stick. There is going to be some weight on this. You know, even if you know, for the wreath itself that's hanging from the center, I'm going to be adding gems to it. That will add weight. While we think it's not, this is paper. So we will be adding that. So I want to make sure that this base is really held securely there. And the same thing for this topper. So remember, we fold the topper for it to be an M when it sits into the place. So the hole where the string goes through, you want that coming down. You want that pointed down onto your piece. I am going to connect both of these right off the bat, because I'm actually going to put a different type of stopper on the top of the hole there of the string. I'm going to come in with my reverse tweezers just to add some pressure to these to keep this flat so that they will have time to just come together and make sure that they are adhered. I'm going to add some Rustic Wilderness to the back side of the leaves, because again, I'm not going to match them up perfectly. So you are going to see them. So just being able to have some of that color there will just add even more dimension. I grabbed some DMC floss, and what I've added to it are 3 extremely large beads. So that when I thread this through, I added 3, 2 green and 1 gold, that's going to be my stopper. Okay, it's going to be a little bit of a decorative piece. You really won't see it unless somebody's looking at the top of it, but it was just a fun way to create a stopper so that I didn't want to use a chunky thread for this. I wanted to use a thin, and this was a pearl cotton. I think it's a cotton 5 that I used. I'm going to start putting my wreath together. I've got my bow on, and the bow is the one item that I'm just going to try to make sure as much as possible is right where it should be, because now this is how the wreaths are going to go together on each side of my thread. I'm adding my poinsettias to the top of these wreaths. Again, just having the same type of arrangement, but again, it's going to be opposite itself. But if it does spin, if somebody looks to the back, it'll look the same. Does that totally not make, it makes sense? I think it does. It's fun. To make sure that the string stays in place and that these 2 pieces stay secured as well, I'm going to be adding a lot of double-sided tape to the back, especially to the top and the bottom, because I want to make sure that that thread is caught right in there on top of that tape. The tape, along with the adhesive, again, just gives that double security of this staying together. I'm going to set the one down, make sure that it's centered within that opening, and then I'm going to press down and get the string down in there. I need to, at this point, make sure that the string is where I want it to be, because I don't want it to fall down in there. I need this to be tight. So remember, you've got this angle that's going on with the thread, and I did not take that into account. But I was okay with it. You can see that I'm trying to move that up and push the string down onto it. So when you do that, you want to make it up higher to the top of your opening than instead of dead on center. because it does have that angle, and that angle is crucial when it comes to this. Then I took the string and I wrapped it around the edge of the wreath along the double-sided tape. I added glue to the other wreath and I snapped that down on top of each other. I should have done this before I put these together, so now I decide to put my gems on. Yeah. I'm using gold for the center of the poinsettias, so we'll see what that is. Yeah, a couple of them slid. They were just all kinds of fun. So now I'm layering up the twigs or the branches when it comes to this wreath. So to keep the stability, that's why I'm layering these up. I want these to be just a little bit thicker, leaning up, because these are going to go against, as you can see here, that the backdrop, the globe itself. These are also going to help stabilize and hold those pines that I'm going to be adding as well. Right now, I am not worried about where all of the ends of the branches are coming in, because I'm going to cover that up. And that's something to remember when you're doing this type of a collage, whether it's light or heavy, like I'm doing now. And what I mean by heavy is multiple layers. I mean, this just goes deep when it comes to that. But again, that's something that I enjoy. Don't worry about the ends, because 9 out of 10, you're going to be taking a sentiment and covering that up. And that is something that I'm definitely going to be doing. I'm going to be taking a Merry Christmas die and putting that in the front there to set this off. Again, it's got a very rustic feel. I'm taking these pieces, I'm cutting them down, I'm pulling them apart, I'm adding glue to them, and I'm just pushing them in so that they will adhere together. It's creating a sprig. That's what I'm going for, are those holiday sprigs that we always put up around our mantle, around, you know, on our windows, and so forth. That's what I saw when I first saw this piece and I saw the wreath spinner. So I thought Christmas Eve was a perfect time to do this. I totally enjoyed putting this together. Die cutting does take some time, absolutely. And to die cut all of these pieces, honestly, it took less than 30 minutes. I'm going to say probably anywhere between 20 and 25 minutes. To put this together, it really didn't take as long either. Once you know what it's going to look like and where you're going to go with it, in about 45 minutes, this card took just under an hour to put together. I get that question a lot. You know, how long did that card take when you made this from start to finish? So from start to finish, this one took about an hour. I'm adding some liquid platinum drops from Ranger onto the tips of those branches. I didn't want to add too much red when it comes to the sprig. I wanted that to stay light. I know it's not really light because we got a lot of greens going on there. We got a lot of browns going on there. I've got my sentiment that's also in brown with some vellum in the back of it. And you can see it just covered the ends of those branches as well. But I thought the platinum was just something that would just help to spark this through, just to help pop that. I'm going to add some of these along the globe itself, just to add some dimension onto that as well. Once I know that's dry, and again, the glue is still wet. When you're doing this, this glue is wet. So this actually dried crooked because it just did. But I was able to straighten it out. So, of course, this was going to have splatter. Not a lot, just a few splatters along the front. And what's great is because I had it sitting on an angle, it actually went to the inside and to the back piece. So when you're looking at it, you'll see these splatters back there as well. No, I did not design the back. Just for that reason, I'm not going to design that back because it's not going to be seen. The only piece that's designed on both sides is that wreath. I do hope you enjoyed this. This is, I think, my favorite piece, and has become my favorite piece, and it's probably because of all of the dimension, all of the details that you can put in by simple die cuts, by adding a little color, by adding a little bit of shading to it, by cutting them apart and layering them up. You can make them come to life so much. So I do hope you enjoyed day 24. Tomorrow is day 25, and it will show tomorrow. Absolutely. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below, and I'll make sure I get back to you as soon as I can. And as long as the products are still available, they will be listed down below for those that I used. Again, dig into your stash. I'm sure you probably have some dies that you can do the same technique with that I showed you here. And that's what this year is all about. And that's what it's always about. Dig into your stash. Take what you see and apply it to what we have. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the traditions that always come around for the holidays, and have fun with your family and friends. Enjoy this time, whether you're together or whether it's virtual. At least we still have the opportunities to do that. But always remember, and I'm sure it's probably I know it's helping me to get through the holidays. Always be creative, and I will see you tomorrow for day 25. Till then, guys, take care.